Hello everyone, welcome to this video lecture on non-destructive testing. Now, in the previous video, we've gone through magnetic particle inspection techniques, the principles, the basic physics behind magnetism, the different terms used in magnetism. Now, we'll be going into the basic procedure in magnetic particle inspection. Now, the basic procedure involves first one, the component that is being pre-cleaned, second one, the introduction of the magnetic field, third one, the application of magnetic media, and last one, interpretation of magnetic particle indications. Now, the first step is pre-cleaning. As we discussed before, in all the different methods in NDT that we discussed previously, whatever test specimen that you're going to use in NDT, you have to first clean it properly. Now, when inspecting a test part with the magnetic particle testing, as we are going to discuss now, it is essential that the particles should have an unimpeded path for migration to both strong as well as weak field. Meaning, in magnetic particle testing, the specimen that you're going to test, it should be continuous. It should not have any sort of dirt, dust, or any other foreign particles. So, it should provide a free path for migration when it is applied for when a strong or a weak magnetic field is applied. So the particles should have an unimpeded path so that they can migrate according to the extent of magnetism that is created inside the specimen. Now the part surface should be clean and dry before it's being inspected. So as we discussed, contaminants such as oil, grease, or scale will prevent the particles from being attracted to the leakage field. So whenever there are certain defects or cracks occurring, the flux cutting should be proper. So if there are contaminants like oil or grease, then it will prevent particles from being attracted to each other, so they may not give proper results and will affect the indications. Now this is just a simple figure. We can use different methods for pre-cleaning that we've discussed in our previous lectures. Second one is the introduction of the magnetic field. The magnetic field can be actually introduced in two ways: direct as well as indirect magnetic field. Can be, as discussed, can be defined applied using direct techniques or indirect techniques. That is, first one, we can use a permanent magnet or an electromagnet that can contact the test piece. Second one is flowing an electrical current through the specimen so as to generate a magnetic field. Third one is flowing an electrical current through a coil of wire around the part or through a central conductor running near the part. This third one comes under the application of an indirect magnetic field. Now, these are the different techniques that are being used. The first figure actually representing the different methods that we are. First one, I think it's the application of a directly you're placing a horseshoe magnet, connecting it. Second one is passing it through a conductor, and the third figure is what we discussed, indirect method of magnetization. Now, so these are the three different techniques. Third one is the indirect magnetization method. Now, the application, that is, we can apply, the third step is the application of the magnetic media. Magnetic media means for testing the specimen, first we pre-clean the specimen, then we apply the magnetic field. Third one is the application of the magnetic medium. The magnetic medium or the magnetic particles are introduced onto the specimen where the testing has to be conducted. Now these magnetic particles, they can either be dry particles or particles that are suspended in a liquid. In the dry method, the particles are lightly dusted onto the surface. They are just applied to the surface lightly. And in the wet method, the specimen that is to be tested is actually flooded with a solution that contains these particles. The dry method is more portable, but the wet method is generally more sensitive and it can give more accurate results since the liquid carrier gives the magnetic particles the additional mobility that is needed. So it's more sensitive and it will give better results. That is the wet method. Now these are actually both the methods. First figure representing the dry method where the particles are just blown onto the surface where the defects are to be found out. Second one is a wet method where a solution containing the particles are actually flooded onto the specimen where the testing is to be done. Now finally, this is the interpretation of the indications. After applying the magnetic field, you know that whenever there are cracks, the magnetic particles will actually form a heel shape or they'll cluster together, indicating there is a crack present or any other discontinuities that are present. Now, this interpretation process requires that the inspector has to distinguish between relevant and non-relevant indications, which actually comes as a part of his experience. Now, as I told before, there are two different methods by which you can apply powder. First one is the dry powder method. Second one is the wet powder method. Now this is the dry powder method. The surface is initially cleaned by using detergents, solvents, now decalcing solutions, paint removers, etc. The first step is the pre-cleaning. Second one is the application of the magnetic field. Third step is the introduction of the particles. Actually, these particles that you are applying is actually iron oxide particles, since as we discussed before, iron oxide is actually having higher so-called retentivity, and also they are ferromagnetic in nature. So the iron powders are actually used for this method. Now this is the remaining steps. The excess ferromagnetic powders are removed by applying a light stream of air from a bulb, syringe, or other source of low pressure dry air. Then the magnetic field, due to the magnetic field applied, the particles will form clusters, and the results can be interpreted and evaluated, and indications can be found out by the observer. Now also it is turned 90 degree, that is the yoke or the poles are turned 90 degree from the original position, and the process is repeated 2 to 5 times. That is, you are applying the initial magnetic field to find the indications, you are reversing it, and then again you are bringing it back to the original position, and then again you are reversing the magnetic field. So this reversal is repeated 2 to 5 times, and then cleaning and demagnetization is done. These are actually the figures. This is actually a crane hook, and this is actually the wet particle method. From the wet particle method, you can easily find the crack that is present there. Now this is the gear. It undergoes a lot of loading, and again, as you can see, wet particle method, you can see here that it is formed, that a crack is formed. Actually, in wet particle method, it is same as dry particle, but in the fact that the iron oxide powders are actually suspended in a fluid or a fluorescent liquid, that fluorescent liquid is being applied here in the wet particle method. Now this is the drive shaft with heat treatment induced cracks. As shown, this is the drive shaft. These are a lot of cracks. These cracks are again found by wet particle method, where a fluid, fluorescent liquid suspended with iron particles, Fe2O3 particles, are allowed to flow onto the surface, and then it is detected. Again, this is another example where you can see a large bolt with a surface induced crack. The crack is found out by wet particle method. Now the magnetic particles, and that is what we are going to discuss now. The magnetic particles that you are using are actually made from, it should be made from ferromagnetic materials. That is, they are combinations of iron or iron oxides. They should have a high permeability as well as low retentivity. Particles having high permeability are easily attracted to the magnetizing field, and even by can be magnetized even by the low level leakage fields that are occurring at the discontinuity. So the cluster or the cracks that are developed can be easily identified when you are using particles having high permeability. Low retentivity is required to prevent the particles from being permanently magnetized, because if you have a high retentivity, the issue is if you remove the magnetic field, due to the retentivity, the particle will still form clusters, and even if you try to wash away, it will be an issue. So the removal of the magnetic particles becomes an issue. So we go for lower retentivity property particles. Now, strong retentivity particle, as discussed, will cling together to any magnetic surface, resulting in reduced particle mobility. That is also a reason. That is, the removal will also be difficult, as well as the fact that if you are using high retentivity particle, then they'll form clusters at each and every location. So it is difficult to interpret the results. That is, we cannot easily find out where the defects are occurring. So we need to go for particles having lower retentivity. Now, a common particle used to detect crack is, as discussed, is iron oxide or Fe2O3 particles. Now, first one is the dry magnetic particle that we have discussed. Magnetic particles, these particles comes in a variety of colors. A color that produces a higher level of contrast against the background should be used. That depends on the material as well as the background that is being used. This is the wet particle method. As you can see here, it consists of a liquid, a fluorescent liquid, into which the iron oxide particles are being placed. These wet particles are typically supplied as visible or fluorescent. Visible particles are viewed under normal white light, and fluorescent particles are viewed under black light. Now, the difference between dry and wet magnetic particles. The dry particles are common, relatively cheap. Wet particles are more expensive, but they are accurate. Dry particles are generally applied to rougher surfaces. Wet particles, they are painted or sprayed onto the surfaces. The particle types, they are elongated, align well with the magnetic field, and they are more rounded in shape. They can move freely across the surface. Whereas in wet particles, you have to use the lighting source. Light UV or fluorescent light should be used, and for their removal, water solvent or emulsifiers have to be used. Now, we'll also discuss the advantages and limitations of the magnetic particle testing methods. The advantage is that it is fast, simple, as well as inexpensive. Indications are produced directly on the surface, and a visual representation of the flow is directly obtained. They are unaffected by the possible deposits such as oil, grease, or other metal chips in the cracks. Minimal surface preparation, that is, no need for paint removal, that is, minimum surface preparation or less pre-cleaning is needed. The results are readily documented with photo or tape impression. Post cleaning is generally not necessary. It is necessary for the wet particle method, but for dry particle, we just have to use a external blower to clean the surface. Again, the advantages are relatively it's a safer technique. Materials generally do not are not combustible or hazardous. Indications can show relative size and shape of the discontinuity, the extent of the crack. Ready to use and minimal amount of training is required, so it can be easily be done. Now it is portable. Materials are available in aerosol spray cans as well, so it is portable. It can be taken anywhere. Low cost, as we discussed, because the materials and the associated equipment are relatively inexpensive. Now we go on to the limitations. The main limitation is that it is applicable only for ferrous material and not for non-ferrous materials such as aluminium, magnesium, or most stainless steels. They cannot be inspected. They are only applicable for ferromagnetic materials. Examination of very large parts may require equipment with special power requirements. You need a larger magnetic field, magnets that can produce large magnetic field. So it is limited to smaller parts, and for larger parts you require larger magnets, and relatively small area can only be inspected at a certain period of time. So only small areas can be detected, so it will take a lot of time to complete the entire product, the testing of the entire product. And it may require removal of the coating or plating to achieve the desired sensitivity. That is, certain surfaces will be coated or plated. Such surfaces, it is difficult because you have to remove it completely and then only it can be tested. Then the limited subsurface discontinuity detection capabilities, because just below the surface you can easily find the discontinuities, but there are in-depth surface cracks that cannot be easily be detected, or inner cracks that cannot be easily be detected. Now the post demagnetization, that is after the testing has been done, demagnetization has to be done. It is often very important, and it is need to be done. The alignment between the magnetic flux and indications is very important. Each part needs to be examined in two different directions, that is, you have to reverse the magnetic field continuously at different locations. And as discussed, relatively small area can only be inspected. Only materials with relatively non-porous surfaces can be inspected, and the inspector must have direct access to the surface that is being inspected. Now we come to the end of this lecture. In the next class, I will be discussing about the different magnetization techniques that are being used in MPI, and we will finish with this technique in the next class. Thank you.